Hey, what's up, guys? Charles Van Medina here again. Patriot Pacific Financial Corp. I'm here with two wonderful guests, two Marines. We've got Sergeant Major retired Jabari Patton. And we've got Director of Operations, Atlas Realty Group, Marine Corps veteran, William King. And they've graciously given me some time out of their busy day to talk about a hot topic, which is, what do you tell a buyer? And I guess we're kind of talking about military buyers in general, but any buyer, really. What do you tell a buyer when their loan has gotten declined? What would be the next thing for that person to do? Let's start with you, Mr. Patton.
Well, first thing I would do is find out, we talked earlier, is, the why.
The why.
Why did you get, denied? And there's certain, there could be a million things out there. It could be from the credit report. It could be your search, this and that. But to ask that why, just first get that out there. And I think a lot of people are just scared to ask that, but you got to understand, these are homes that you're about to buy that are costing, $500,000 to $1 million or even less. The average is about $500,000. You need to ask the why I got denied.
And I feel like that's a question that some buyers are sort of afraid to ask their loan officer. Do a lot of buyers just kind of turn away with their tail tucked between their butt and just kind of walk away? Oh, I couldn't get a loan.
Yes.
And not question the lender's decision.
Right. They do that typically, and that's because a mortgage loan officer is looked at as a professional. A realtor is looked at as a professional. So whenever they tell you no, that seems to be the final word. However, we as professionals, we have to humanize ourselves and provide some empathy to those buyers and literally put ourselves in the same position and say, hey, I understand you got denied, but let's figure out why.
What would you say? Give us an example of maybe how and when a buyer questioned a loan officer, and when you begin to peel the layers of the onion away, you found that there is a way to get it done.
No, I mean,
you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll take this one.
Okay.
It's simple. You ask the why, and the why could be, hey, I asked for a $700,000 home. Loan officers are like, you got denied. All right.
And that's all they said.
That's it. The phone's hung up, everything else. You're crying. We can't buy a house. We're staying on base housing. I want to get a house, But once you ask the why and say, hey, you got denied. Okay, why? Well, you asked for too much. Okay, let's roll this back a little bit. Instead of 700, let's ask for 500, maybe 450, 400, 300. And then once you get that,
hey, 300 will get you a box.
Yeah, you might get into a box, and you might have to, go into another thing. I'm not Camp Pendleton. I want to live by the beach. Now I'm looking at homes in Carlsbad. Now you might have to expand your search because you didn't get that loan for that amount. And that might be, might have to move somewhere else.
It sounds, I love what you're saying, but unfortunately, it sounds like the loan officer in that scenario, instead of volunteering that information, hey, Mr. Buyer, you didn't qualify for 700, but guess what? I ran it through and you're good for 550. They didn't volunteer that information. You're gonna have to you have to pry it out of him.
Well, that's what separates the good from the great. Unfortunately, the loan officers I work with, if a buyer was denied, they're already coaching that buyer on what to do next. And that speaks volume for loan officers within Patriot Pacific as well as other ones I work with. Whenever a buyer gets denied, they say, hey, you were denied for $700,000, but let's see why you were denied and let me coach you on what you need to do to get approved. And if it's the actual price point because of a DTI issue or because of a residual issue, most buyers don't even know that the VA loan is a residual loan, number one. And if a loan officer don't know that and educate the buyer, then that could be a reason for a denial because you have to meet the VA's residual based on the residual calculator in order to get approved. People think that a lot of denials come from a high DTI ratio, when in fact, I've seen VA loans get approved with 70% DTI, 68% DTI, but the residual made sense.
What are some of the other common reasons that you've seen with buyers why their loan got denied?
Why their loan got denied? Let's start with just credit. I mean, credit's one of the biggest things, but one of the easiest things you can fix. They got denied because as a sergeant major, I used to tell my guys, once a year, pull up your credit report.
Yeah, take a look at what's on there.
You see what's on there because, you might know all that stuff. And if you're, you have a significant other, both of you guys sit down and compare, make sure we have everything. And you might find out, wait a minute, that's not even me. That's not even my mistake on there. And fixing that. And that's one of the common things that people have on there, and understand what that debt ratio is and everything else.
Yeah.
But mostly, the most common one, the most easiest one is being ready. Yeah.
What if the fix for whatever problem they have that's making them not eligible today, what if that fix is 6, 9, 12 months from being completed? How are you following up, or how are you working with that buyer? So, I mean, you're not just
we have to know. Yeah, we have to know that credit is very forgiving, number one.
Yeah.
You can mess something up on credit and you can be okay with time. But nothing with credit get fixed in 30 days. Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if it takes 6 to 9 months to fix the issue, it's important to keep in contact with that client month by month and following up. Hey, did you do this? Hold that client accountable. Buyers need to work with professionals who will become an accountability partner, not just someone that's going to assist them in buying or selling a home. Because the truth is buyers need an accountability partner, because once they gotten denied once and they get into a lease for 12 months, they're going to forget about buying 100%. It may or may not come around.
Other things take priority.
Now, the buyer has said they want to purchase a home. They understand the importance of purchasing a home. They understand how it can benefit them financially, how it can benefit them emotionally and mentally. However, if they've been denied, that can really mess with their emotional state.
Sure.
And they get into a 12-month lease and they say, I'll fix these problems. And then,
later.
I'll
get around to
12 months goes by and the problems had never been fixed. So whenever you find a professional that becomes an accountability partner, like myself, I'm calling my buyers once a month. Hey, last month, did you do this with your credit? Did you pay down your credit card to 50%? Okay, next month, we're going to work on saving $300. We're going to put $300 more on that credit card to reduce your actual credit utilization, which is going to increase your credit.
That's outstanding. That's a true professional.
Yeah.
How do you find the time to do that? You're running a busy shop. You show real estate yourself. How do you find the time to do that?
Calendar.
Yes. All right, let's do it.
Effective time management.
You know, a very common reason that we're seeing, you and I talked about it, Jabari, service members, doesn't matter what branch you're in, they're about to get out, they're about to EAS, ETS, whatever, and they apply right before they get out, and they get a bomb dropped on them, which is...
When they get out.
Right,
get a bomb dropped.
Why is that?
Right.
Income.
Income. Right now, they don't have employee, history. Why they're in the Marine Corps, from day zero when they went on the yellow footprints to when they get out, retire, or just got out of the Marine Corps, they had employee history. And that is very key when you want to get a loan. Now, and that's why I used to tell my Marines when I was in as a sergeant major, hey, 2 years out, you start having that plan. That's getting ready. You might want to purchase a house now, because once you get out, you have zero employment.
You're kind of starting out again.
Yeah, you're starting from zero.
Over. Yeah.
And everything. Let's go with, we were talking, a couple of days ago about you're a motor T guy. You have history of being a motor T guy or a supply guy or a comm guy. But once you get out, you don't have no history with that. And now you're starting a different job, different title, everything else. And then when you come to a different loan officer, which I'm so glad I've worked with, Javier and a couple other ones, is that they understand Marine Corps terminology,
right,
and everything. So you might work on the base as a civilian, but you might have a different title, but it's the same thing.
That makes a lot of sense.
But having that history is key.
So it's important to stay in the same job history. I mean, the same job industry is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So if I was a comm guy and I got in the Marine Corps, I go be an architect. Does that make sense to the underwriter?
Yeah, no. One caveat to that is, thankfully the VA does have a provision where if you have a job lined up, permanent, stable, full-time job, not some temp agency situation, you got that lined up and you can prove a start date in the near future, you can get an approval while you're still in and you're about to get out.
As long as you have that approval letter.
Right.
And you have to have that letter to show
and a start date.
And a start date.
Yeah.
But if you don't have none of that, because some of them are like, hey, I'm going to take 6 months off.
Well, that
you're not buying a house anytime soon.
Well, sometimes that could work. It depends on what you're doing in that 6 months. Like, for example, when I was purchasing a property in 2016, I believe, when I got in Marine Corps in 2015, and then I took some time off. But during that time off, I was working on a MBA in information technology. And then I got a job as a software engineer. But I just started that job and I had an official start date. My loan was approved.
Yes.
Because for that year prior, I was in school getting that certification. So the underwriter counted that as time.
Totally makes sense.
It made sense because I was in school for that specific specific trade, and then I got a job in that trade. So the underwriter did count my time in school as employment history because I was going to school for that specific trade.
This is interesting because here we are. We're talking about how to help a buyer navigate the unfortunate circumstance of,
Right.
oh, shoot, my loan got denied. What do I do now, right? And there's some things that you're sharing, but it sounds like a lot of this it could be preventative. It could be
it could be very preventive.
Yes.
Yeah, it could be very, very. It could be prevented before you even get to a loan officer. Number one, if you know you want to buy a house, the most important thing you could do for yourself is become educated.
Yes.
The VA guidelines is a public website. You can go on va.state.gov. I think that's the website, or just Google VA guidelines.
Yep.
It's a public website, and you can look up everything you need to know about a VA loan. Or you can follow my YouTube channel at Veterans Resource Network, or contact Charles Van Mediva, or contact Jabari Patton, or contact anyone you know.
Yeah.
I guarantee every buyer knows at least, one person that's in real estate. There's so many people within the industry today. You can throw a rock in a crowd of 20 and probably hit 10.
I want to share.
Ask the important questions of what do I need to do in order to get approved for a home loan before even running your credit.
Right. Be prepared.
Before even running your credit.
Yeah.
Be prepared to know what your credit score is, to understand what your debt is, understand how to calculate your DTI, understand how to calculate your residual. All those things are online, absolutely free of cost.
And some of that might be kind of daunting to the average
It is.
buyer.
I agree. It seems scary.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But
it's
fair to say that if that's too much for that person to read and take in and figure out, someone like yourself or a loan officer that's willing to put in the time and counsel that person, they could come to the same end result, which is be prepared before they pull the trigger and make application, and they don't get a shock to their system. I got to say this, one very common reason people get denied is because the lender is only running their approval through an automated system. So you come in and, you've heard the phrase DU or LP. We input all your stuff, your data, your information. We click a button, we twiddle our thumbs for 30 seconds, and we look around and boom, here comes a decision on the screen, right? That's a DU approval. And excuse me, a lot of lenders stop right there. If they don't get a DU approval or LP approval, that's the end of the road.
It's in.
They don't look at a manual approval. And I got to be honest with you, 40% of our VA loan approvals are manually underwritten.
Now, Charles, real quick, before we go further, can you explain a manual? I know you said that DU and LP, that's completely computer driven. We sit around for 30 seconds. What does it look like to have a manual underwritten approval?
Certainly. So the underwriting mind or the engine or the brain behind that approval, VA has already pre-engineered that into the automated system. The system is doing the thinking for us.
Yes.
Right? And that system, it's a computer. It gives a yes or a no. But that's not what a manual underwriting approval is. A manual approval is where we bypass that. We're saying, hey, we're going to take this to a human being, flesh and blood, a person, a human being with thoughts and feelings and a brain, and that person's going to make a judgment call, hopefully on behalf of this veteran.
Right.
Yes.
Now, where we come in as a loan officer, it's our responsibility to paint that picture so pretty that it's hard for that underwriter to say no. I mean, we're tugging at their heartstrings.
So it's more than just their financials. It's like, hey, this guy may have a story. This guy may have, did A, B, C, or D, and now that has affected him, which affected his credit, blah, blah, blah. He deserves a home because of A, B, C, or D. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes,
is
you
the story?
cannot remove the emotional element out of the underwriting process.
Yes.
It's not just black and white numbers. It's not just that. It's not FICO score. You got to tug at the heartstring.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a true story. There's a loan officer back in Arizona back in the day when I lived in Tucson. And this is when we had paper files. We didn't do everything online. It was all paper packages. And when he sent the package to underwriting, he would very gently put talcum powder. People thought he was crazy. And guess what? When the underwriter opened the file, it had this odor or this aroma.
And it smelled
Really?
They think it was crazy. No, real story. She already liked the file.
Yeah.
Think about it. It's
because of the
psychological.
smell.
Yeah.
The smell.
And I was like, that's crazy. That's kind
Because they always say in the Marine Corps, if it smells good or looks good, it's probably good.
It's probably good. Yeah.
So a manual underwriter is where you're basically an attorney fighting for your, I don't want to say criminal, but for your client that has had a sketchy past.
Yeah.
And you're fighting the case and you're saying, I want to win this case for my client. He deserves to get a home. Let's get it done.
So if a buyer is told no, they need to ask their loan officer, hey, has this been manually underwritten?
It will be a travesty if they did not.
Okay.
I'm telling you, a lot of people don't understand that. They've never even heard. Manual, DPA, they don't know.
So to all our viewers, if you don't learn anything from this video, you need to ask the question, has this been manually underwritten? That's the key takeaway.
Absolutely. And in some cases, truth be told, even a manual underwriter is not going to save the day if this person's exhibiting, behavior that is what we call a credit criminal, right? They just have no regard for any bills or any, then that person needs to go through some debt management, and some thought process where they become more serious about paying their bills. And that might take time. But for people that have had a life event, right, and something happened in their life that was beyond their control and they fell behind, but by and large they pay their bills on time, I'm going to fight until the wheels come off, man. We will fight to the death. I was just telling you right now, we just had a clear to close today on a Calvet deal where he'd been the full lenders. I was his last choice.
That's another important thing too, Charles. This guy went to 4 lenders. So if you get denied, do not go to a million different mortgage companies running your credit.
No.
Don't do that.
Because all you're going to do is
every time you run your credit, if
they
they don't have the same credit source, then your credit will go down every single time.
Yeah.
You literally, if you get one denial, that's fine. Find out what's wrong first.
Now ask that why question.
Someone else. Yeah, ask that why.
You got to ask the why.
Yeah. So I guess
don't be afraid to ask why.
That why can turn into, those 7 steps. We're talking about 7 things you can tell the buyer that's been denied. Number 1, why? Number 2, why? Number 3, why'd you get denied? Number 4, but why'd you get denied? 5, 6, and 7, let's talk about why you got denied.
Right.
We need to find out why and peel back the onions.
But after the why, you got to say, how can I fix this?
Yeah.
Right.
How can I make it to this? And it goes back to your point. Not everybody's going to have it done within 30 days. And that's where we come in as educators.
Right.
Back when we were in Marine Corps, educating everybody and explaining everything. There's nobody shooting bullets at us, so we have time to tell and teach and mentor and show people that it's a family thing, it's a community thing.
Diligence.
And helping out everybody to get what they really want.
I love that. And like you said, I mean, they need someone to be that accountability partner to see it through, because life happens and it becomes no longer a priority. Good information, guys. You guys really knocked it out of the park. Thank you for addressing this topic.
Yeah, no worries. Anytime, man.
Anytime.
So we got done talking about what to tell a buyer if and when their loan gets declined. And as you heard from these 2 wonderful gentlemen, there's always a way, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And if it's not now, it'll be later on. It might be 3 months from now, 6 months
from now. Just don't give up and keep your eye on the prize.
Exactly.
Good to go.
Keep your eye on the goal, because goal sometimes takes time to accomplish.
And you guys show property, you sell property, so partner up with one of these gentlemen. William King, Director of Operations at Atlas, and Jabari Patton, Sergeant Major retired. Thank you for your service, both of you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Both of their contact information's on the screen, and hey, we'll see you on the next show.